So recently on the channel, we have talked about the Nintendo Switch 2 game keycard situation and a massive update that has allegedly happened. Now, when it comes to game keycards, there's a lot of people that hate them much more than I do. Some people think that game keycards are the antichrist of the video game industry. I think it's a decent blend of a physical and a digital product. I can see the drawbacks to it, of course, but I do think that there are positives to them. One of them being that you can sell a game key card if you decide to be done with it, which is something that you cannot do with a digital download. So there's positives and negatives to it, but there is a large amount of people, at least on social media, that say, I'll never buy a game key card. I would rather kick a dog in the head than buy a game key card. And one of the main issues when it comes to why companies would choose to use game key cards is because of the fact that the Nintendo Switch 2 only offers one physical cartridge size. If your game is 2 gigs, if your game is 6 gigs, if your game is 600 gigs, doesn't matter. The only physical option for a Nintendo Switch 2 physical cartridge was, of course, 64 gigabytes. Now, if your game is a larger game, it kind of makes sense to use a standard physical cartridge. But if your game is substantially smaller than that, you're essentially paying for wasted space, and these game cartridges for the Nintendo Switch 2, I mean, they're not cheap. We know that there's about a $20 cost to the developer, or the publisher, I should say, of the game. Meaning that if you have a game that you're selling for $40 because it's a retro compilation, that's a couple gigs, and you're having to use a 64 gigabyte cartridge, not very attractive. Not something that you're probably going to look forward to using on the Switch 2 because your profit margins then diminish quite a bit. And of course, you could go to today's earlier video, and I suggest you go watch that talking about the gaming crash, because boy, oh boy, are we in it. However, like I said, recently we talked about a update to this situation, and some people were skeptical about it. I wasn't, because I talked to people off the record and stuff and had some additional information with it. But now we have concrete confirmation that the Nintendo Switch 2 is now offering multiple cartridge sizes when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 physical cartridges. And this is definitely a big win for physical collectors. However, there are still some drawbacks. So we're going to talk about all of this in today's video. So here is the source of this. Now, this is involving the R-Type 3 Dimensions game that is coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 in a physical cartridge. And initially, it was only going to be a game key card. And of course, there was lots of people yelling online about it. I'm sure all of them are going to buy this game. I mean, I like R-Type games, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll probably check it out or something. But yeah, like people were just freaking out. I can't believe it, a game key card. How could you do this to us? It's the end of the world. And I'm just like, were you going to buy the game in the first place? However, this morning they shared a new update on Nintendo Switch 2 physical release of R-Type Dimensions 3. We're happy to share a positive update regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 version of R-Type Dimensions 3. There is no better timing. 2 days ago, Nintendo announced 2 new smaller cartridge sizes for the Switch 2. This allows us to recalculate production in a way that wasn't possible before. As a result, we've made the following decision. The entire European and US production of R-Type Dimensions 3 for the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released on a full physical cartridge. A little downside to this positive news. The price for the retail and special edition of the Switch 2 version will increase by £10 due to still higher production costs. However, as a small thank you to our early supporters, all early pre-order customers of the special edition will receive the game on cartridge at the original price they ordered. We'd like to sincerely thank the gaming community for a passionate discussion, the feedback, and the patience over the past few days. Your enthusiasm for physical games and for R-Type in particular made this solution possible, and we're very happy to be able to deliver a true cartridge release. So, I mean, they probably shouldn't have said 2 days ago Nintendo announced new smaller cartridge sizes for the Switch 2, because technically they didn't. I mean, they did tell people that would be in the know about these things, that there was going to be some new smaller cartridge sizes, but it wasn't like a public announcement. I don't know. I hope they kind of cleared that with Nintendo before saying it. I mean, I kind of imagine, something they probably would have known, especially with them shifting from a game key card to a standard physical cartridge. But of course, like I've said with this multiple times, there is a drawback. You're going to have to pay a little bit more for still higher production costs. And this is something that I have talked about multiple times on this channel. It's a very put up or shut up sort of thing. People like to sit there and preach about, how much better a physical version is than a game key card, to the point of where a lot of people that talk about these things definitely say things like, oh, well, I would pay more for this. Are you actually going to? Are you actually going to be able to spend the additional money, especially if you're a multi-platform owner, and spend the extra money to buy this game on the Nintendo Switch 2 with a physical release that is going to cost you around $10 or 10 pounds more than, a digital version of the game would, or something of that nature? And I think it brings about a very interesting conversation that you really don't know the answer to unless the proof is out there. Because I'm here to tell you, if this flops, if nobody buys the physical version of this game, then there has to be a conversation to be had, because yes, it's only going to be isolated to this one game, but other developers are going to notice that. I'm sure they're going to say if it was worth doing it. They probably won't say anything if it was worth doing it, if it's a success. But if it's a failure and nobody picks up the physical cartridge because of the additional price, they're definitely going to have to say something about it. And it's going to, lean into other developers and how they look at the system and how they feel about these things. Like, it's just a natural thing that's going to happen with this, and a very put up or shut up situation. Now, obviously, this is involving a specific type of physical cartridge, like we talked about in the previous video. Smaller. These are smaller. So these are less than 64 gigabytes. So yes, this can potentially solve some problems when it comes to smaller games such as R-Type Dimensions 3 and retro-inspired games and games that, are under the 64 gigabyte threshold. But when it comes to larger games, you still are going to have game key cards. They're not going away. Like, they literally cannot go away because of the size of a lot of modern games. And of course, we have the whole conversation about the speeds of these physical cartridges versus something like a game key card. When the games are installed onto the system, we know, factually speaking, because we can look at Mario Kart World, that a digital version of the game will boot up faster than it will the physical version of the game. There are specific games that we have heard that require a game key card because of the engine being used in it. Look at like Star Wars Outlaws. Remember there was all that controversy around the game, which should have been focused on the game itself not being that good. But the controversy was that the game could technically fit on a physical cartridge, but one of the developers said, hey, the read speeds aren't good enough for this engine. We need to use something that installs onto the system itself. So when it comes to bigger third-party titles, guess what? You're still going to have game key cards going into this. However, I think this does bring about one interesting conversation that nobody is thinking about, and that's Pokopia. Because now that you have a smaller physical cartridge size, that game is not demanding in any way, shape, or form. It literally looks like a Nintendo DS game with like a 2x upscale of the internal resolution of the game. It looks like dog water. And I don't understand, like, if you're excited for the game, that's cool. But I think we can all agree that the game looks like ass crack. Pokopia is a game key card. And the mentality was, oh, well, maybe it's because it's a smaller game, but they're still charging $70. But now you have these physical cartridges that you can use that are smaller. So are they going to go back and fix that? Or are people just going to, not put their money where their mouth is and then just, buy the game key card? Oh, it's Pokemon. I've got to have Pokemon. I need to play the Pokopia game. You got to remember, people's morals and ethics change on a dime. When it's convenient for them, they'll do what they need to do. And, that's just human nature. So I don't really hold it too much against people, but I do notice these things. All right, I look at these things, pal. Anyways, guys, that is what is going on with this situation. I think it's good. You know, offering multiple cartridge sizes. Hell, I just bought the, you know, I don't really buy much physical stuff anymore, but I love Terminator 2 so much. I bought the collector's edition because it was like $100 and something on Amazon for the Switch, and I was just like, whatever, dude. I want to support this game additionally because I really love it, and I think it's so awesome. So I don't know, you know, I do like physical stuff from time to time, but you know, it's a very interesting situation. So let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys check out the video from earlier today. I've made a lot of videos this week. I know they've been kind of all over the place, you know, with some stuff that maybe you wouldn't expect on this channel. It's the holiday season, pal. A lot of companies want their products in the limelight, and I'm a businessman, and I run a business, man. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Oh, go watch Game and Talk from yesterday. It was just me and Celia, but I went on an unhinged tangent on characters in the Santa Claus movie starring Tim Allen. If you enjoy my Lenny Kravitz sort of bashing, you'll love that. I essentially talked about 4 people from the Santa Claus that I would like to punch in the face. Maybe you can guess those 4 people in the comment section before watching the video. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Hit subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.